Hello, I'm Sarah, one of the tutors from the Writing and English Skills Center, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about double entry notes. Double entry notes are one of my favorite strategies for reading when I am reading to write. If a teacher gives a student an article to read that they have to write an essay about, or if a student is doing research for their paper, this is a great strategy to help yourself understand the reading better and to organize your research. So what are double entry notes? Double entry notes are a form of note taking where you put quotes from an article on one side of your page and write your responses to them on the other. For example, the quote, "Researchers can't say for sure whether human-caused climate change will mean longer or more active hurricane seasons in the future, but there is broad agreement on one thing. Global warming is changing storms." My reaction when I saw how many hurricanes there were this year and saw how much damage they did, I wondered how they were being affected by climate change. I'm not surprised to hear that climate change is changing the storms. So the first part was a quote from an article. The second part was what I thought after I read it. So why take double entry notes? Taking the time to identify key passages will help you better understand what you are reading. Writing out your reaction to the quote encourages you to think critically about what you are reading. It can also help deepen your understanding of the material. All your quotes will be in one place when you go to write the essay. While writing your reactions, you may come up with ideas for things you can write about in your essay. You may even use some sentences from your reaction column in your essay. A more in-depth example, I will switch my screen and narrate my thought process as I make double entry notes for the first few paragraphs of an article. Okay. Oops. Having some technical difficulties here. Okay, back on track. So when I take notes, I like to set up my document with columns. If I'm doing this in Google Docs, I would go to Insert, Table, and I'd do one that is two columns, and I'll go down 6 rows. And just to remind myself what goes on what side, I'm going to write quotes here and my response here. All right, so now I'm going to jump over to the article. So far, I've only skimmed it. I haven't read the whole thing. All right, so this is the quote that I had in my first example. So this is where I need to pick up reading. Scientists say, for example, that unusually warm Atlantic surface temperature helped to increase storm activity this season. The warmer ocean temperatures are absolutely responsible for a hyperactive season, said James P. Cawson, a climate scientist with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It's very likely human-caused climate change contributed to that anomalously warm ocean. So I am going to take this quote here. This seems important. I'm thinking maybe this might be one of the main points of the article, and I'm going to paste it into my document. I'm also going to put an in-text citation in. I need the author of the article is Veronica Penny, so I'm just going to put her last name. Oops. Just going to put her last name in parentheses. Double check to make sure I spelled it right. I did. Okay. And now I'm going to write my response. I'm not surprised. I know that warm ocean temperatures make storms stronger. So if climate change is warming the ocean, then I expect stronger storms. I find this scary and hope these storms will motivate people to do something about climate change. that's what I think about when I read this quote. So that's what I'm going to put in my response. Now I'll go back to the article. I'll keep reading. All right, this is interesting that it could actually result in fewer storms. Although that's not necessarily much better if the storms are worse. All right, I like that the article is broken down into pieces here. Key factors really is ocean surface temperature. All right, that's information we already had from earlier in the article, so I'm not going to requote it. Okay, seems significant. This is the impact that these storms are having. So I'm going to put this quote in as well. And I'm going to put it with my in-text citation. That way, if I were to use this in my essay, I could copy paste the quote with the in-text citation already in it. This is why it's so important to pay attention to and try to stop climate change. This is one of many reasons. The consequences of it not only damage property, but can get people killed. Because if there's down power lines, if there's strong winds, if there's damaged roof, this quote might be talking about roofs and down power lines, but those same things can kill people. So to me, this is important, especially if I'm going to make an argument about trying to persuade people to actually take action against climate change, then I would want a quote like this to show people what the consequences of it are. So I'm going to stop for now. I'm sure you don't want to listen to me talk about reading all night, but that's a brief example of how to take double entry notes. If the article has page numbers, I usually suggest you take 1 or 2 quotes from each page. It's a little bit trickier with online sources. So, you know, if it's broken down into sections like that one, I would probably try to take 1 quote from each section. You don't need to go overboard with dozens of quotes. Just look for the things that either really stand out to you or seem like they're really relevant to your topic or are key ideas from the article. So next time you have to read something for a class or read articles to use in an essay, try out double entry notes. If you need help getting started or need help understanding a text you're reading, you can use Navigate to set up an appointment with the tutor from the Writing and English Skills Center. Thank you and have a great night.